All right, so we're testing out this primary arms 1-2-10 by 24 GLX scope. We're going to be shooting 400 yards, then 500 yards from the prone position. And the thing I'm paying attention to today is, like, it's one thing when you're shooting benched and you're you have that you're a little bit more comfortable and you can get behind the scope. But what about from the prone position? Eyebox issues, how well is it going to work from the prone position shooting at distance? Okay, so let's go for the 400 yards. Let's get back to 500 yards and see how we get. So here at 400 yards, no trouble with the eye box or the eye relief. Sometimes when I'm in a bench position, I actually think I have a little bit more difficulty with it. But right here, shooting prone, 400 yards, I had no eye box issues. I was able to 10 magnification. I was able to get get a really good image, no shadows. I was able to see wall to wall in the scope. The scope itself was like a very thin line. So at 400 yards, this worked great. Let's try 500 yards. All right, we're gonna shoot 500 yards now. So the ammunition is 77 grain Sierra Match Kings. We're shooting this in a Palmetto 223 Wild, and that's an 18-inch stainless steel barrel, and got a CB Life bipod, and the scope is primary arms 1-10 by 24 GLX. Hopefully that was in the camera. Let's cover up. And let's go up and see how we did. So there's the 500 yards. All right, I'm about halfway through walking the 500 yards. Now all right, so on the left here, we've got the 400 yards, okay? So these are the fresh holes here that we just made. We shot 5 shots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shots. Really nice group at 400 yards. 6.5 inches between the furthest points. If we look at the best 4 out of 5, we got like 5.5 inches, but even 5 out of 5, I'll take 6.5 inches at 400 yards. That is really nice. Okay, so that's with the Palmetto 223 Wild budget rifle. I think the whole thing cost me something like maybe, I don't know, 500 or 550. All right, with that primary arms 1-10 by 24 GLX scope. And this here is the 500. So it looks like I pulled the shots a little bit towards the left. My holds were good because I had a would have had a 4 mil hold here, and I just swallowed the bug, and a 5 mil hold here. So despite the fact that the ammunition was like really light recoiling, and I thought it was going to impact lower, nah, man, it's spot on. I mean, here, like I was aiming right here where that bullseye was, so that would be center mass, and it's basically that those shots would have landed into like the high neck, into the neck, upper chest area. And same thing over here. If anything, I expect them to be like trending lower, and they're trending higher, because I was the 4 out of 5 shots is about 17 inches. So 17 inches at 500 yards, 4 out of 5 shots. I mean, that's definitely good combat accuracy, you know. So with a budget rifle, right, with a Palmetto 223 Wild, here, let's take a look at the 500 yards. That was like way back over there towards on the left. So 500 yards is not that far. Okay, a lot of people talk about 500 yards like, oh, you would never get into engagement at 500 yards. 500 yards is really not that far. It's like that's shouting distance. Like I could be like over here, it's quiet. If I was shouting somebody down there, they wouldn't know what I was saying, because at 300 yards, I think I could call out directions, like move left, move right. At 500 yards, I could get somebody's attention, right, on a quiet field like this, right? I mean, if it's busy and noisy and windy, no, they're not going to hear you at 500 yards. But on a quiet field like this, I would have no trouble yelling out at somebody at 500 yards and them hearing me. That's, like I said, that's towards the left of the screen over there. And in a city, right, if you walk, like when I'm in Brooklyn where my mother's house is, when I walk out the house, I mean, I can see 700 yards like to the right, because you got these because the cities are like in these grid-like patterns. So I can see 700 yards to the left, to the right, and then almost 1,000 yards to the left. And I've actually measured it with a what do you call those things? With a rangefinder. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm in the city, I'd never get into long distance engagements. Especially if you get at a high elevation, the cities are full of, there's probably a better chance that you'd get into distance engagements in a shit hit the fan type of situation. They're not in the countryside, because in the countryside, I mean, you got lots of trees here, right? So unless you have a field that's actually cleared out like this, you're not gonna have a line of sight to 500 yards, right? You'd have to be like shooting down like a road or something, alongside a road. But in the cities, I mean, you get out into the street, I mean, you got like more than 500 yards in any direction, if you're looking down those streets. So yeah, so that's what we're doing today. That's pretty good. Palmetto 223, wow, budget rifle, 400 yards. I mean, you can own, look at that, 6 inches at 400 yards. You own the target, right? You own it. This one over here, 500 yards, 4 out of 5 shots. Definitely. I mean, we're not talking about like suppression fire here. We're talking about very good combat accurate hits at 500 yards. All right, so let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to y'all soon. Hey everyone, I wanted to give you guys a recap on the subject that I was really looking to test today, which was Eyebox when you're shooting from the prone position at long distances, right, at 400 and 500 yards. This primary arms 1 to 10 scope, it's in a 30 millimeter tube. And I didn't have a problem. Okay, I was able to get into the prone position. I didn't see any shadows. It was working pretty good for me. Now I was I didn't really understand why they picked a 30 millimeter tube. I would have thought that a 34 millimeter tube would have been a better choice. That's what they use in their SLX version of this, right? They have a 1 to 10 by 28 SLX scope, which is cheaper. It's like something like $450. So that one is in a 34 millimeter tube. So I don't know why they decided to go with a 30 millimeter tube on their GLX, on their 1 to 10 GLX. I'm thinking that maybe it had to do something with weight savings, because even though this tube is longer, what happens is I think that a lot of the weight is not from the metal of the tube, but from the lenses. So maybe by going to a smaller circumference tube, they were able to save on the weight of the lenses. I don't know, but like I said, Eyebox was not an issue today.